what website is it? Do you know?
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, if you could put it in the chat, that would be great.
Me too, please.
Has it.
Yeah, I will have a look for it.
Thank you. I didn't even know it existed. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
It's my second meeting of the day. The other one started at 6 a.m.
Wow.
Gross.
Oh dear.
Was that with people in Europe or something?
Yeah, I have my company is actually hosting people from Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, and Iran. So every 2 weeks of every month, we host them for a series of programs over the course of the 2 weeks. It's in excess of about 120 hours worth of programming. So, yeah. But they're international. They're scattered across the globe. So I was talking this morning at 6. That's why I seem like wildly awake.
I think the earliest I had was 4:30 in the morning. It's like, oh Lord.
Yeah, there's been many times, especially when you're dealing with people from India or things like that. And one particular aspect of my business as well is putting in some implementations, and we have an Indian team doing that, and so that's 12 hours forward. So we're always we're in the morning, there at night. The challenges of international business.
Yeah, we had Russia and Africa and Australia all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Get to have a nap in the afternoon.
You really do, John. It's the only way you survive.
Yeah.
Gradually collecting folks here. Mike and Dennis and Wayne, Doug.
Morning.
Lyle, Ted,
Morning.
Joe, Wayne.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Well, don't everyone talk at once.
Well, we all were.
We were.
Hi, Rachel.
Morning.
Wayne,
Morning.
All
out
right.
late,
Hi, Rachel.
sleeping.
All right. Just give it one more minute here.
When I woke up this morning, I thought, how come at 2 o'clock and at 3 o'clock I'm so wide awake, but at 6:30 I just want to sleep?
It's a good question. I ask myself the same thing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Steve.
That's the same for me, but in the afternoon.
I need a power nap. I find if I set my clock and just take a power nap for even 20 minutes, it re-energizes me to do the last half of the day. Steve, if we can at some point during the program, if I can take 5 minutes to talk about the Women's Day initiative for the club.
We'll put you in on announcements.
Perfect. Thank you.
We may or may not have 5 minutes. You might need to do it a little bit quicker than that.
Oh, it'll be like not even. Yeah.
The figure of speech, isn't it?
1 minute or less.
Okay. All right. Well, it is 7:33, so we may as well get rolling. Welcome to the January 19th edition of our online meetings here at the Bowmanville Rotary Club. Thanks for joining, everyone. It's a special day today. It's Tori's foster sister Kayla's 30th birthday. January 19th is always our favorite day of the year, although we can't spend it with her this year. Obviously, Kayla wasn't supposed to make it 10, but she's made it to 30 thanks to some love and healthcare. So that's pretty great. So moving on to our toast. First to Her Majesty, the Queen.
Her Majesty the Queen.
To Canada.
Canada.
Rotary International.
Rotary International.
and Kayla Alert. So,
Mm,
okay. We don't have Gord on. Gord was supposed to do our invocation. So we'll chase him down for that later on. I'm going to steal Roy's invocation that he was using at the start and go through that. It has been said, love your neighbor as yourself. In Rotary, we put this into action by offering service above self. We appreciate the many opportunities to serve others, for service comes in many forms. Service happens in laughter and friendship. Service happens in quiet conviction. Service happens with firm intention. Service happens in growing kinship to all humanity in attention. We are thankful for the ability to pursue this, and with the help of fellow Rotarians, demonstrate this for the good of humanity. Amen. And thanks for the assist on that, Roy. Much appreciated. Okay, well, with that, I think we're moving straight into our oh no, birthdays and anniversaries. Pauline.
President Steve, well, there's one celebration this week. Is Rajesh on the line by any chance? Because
Rajesh misses most mornings, but
he will be celebrating his 6th wedding anniversary on Monday.
oh, fantastic news. I'll have to send him a note.
Yeah.
That's great. Rajesh is going to be online for our evening meeting next week. It's getting the kids rolling and stuff in the morning that's proven to be a bit of a problem for them. Okay, and with that, over to Steve Burnett to introduce our speaker, and I think you're part of the show as well.
Correct. So I've got a little bit of a scripted presentation, and then I'll pass it on to Elizabeth. So we'll bring up the PowerPoint. Good morning. It's a great pleasure to be with you all in these trying times. Let's zoom right along. I am the Hub and Facilities Manager at 707 Simcoe Street, South Oshawa. There are 4 non-for-profit charity organizations housed at the Hub. We call it the Hub while we look for a final name. Catholic Family Services exists to provide hope, help, and healing to individuals, couples, and families, regardless of belief, through evidence-based clinical therapy, psychoeducational counseling, and support. You don't have to be Catholic to get help from us. Group, family, couple, individual counseling is available at little to no cost. Clients are asked to pay fees on a sliding scale, but no one is ever denied service due to an inability to pay. The Rose of Durham provides assistance to young mothers and young families. Their mission statement is to nurture young parents and their children through free counseling, education, and programs to build stronger futures. This is accomplished through Rose of Durham's holistic programs and services, including attachment-based parenting programs, group individual formats, supportive strength-based counseling, high school program, life skills, social drop-in programs, and donation room services. All services are free of charge. Luke's Place Support and Resource Center for Women and Children is a provincial center of excellence devoted solely to improving the safety and experience of women and their children as they proceed through the complex family law system after fleeing an abusive relationship. Luke's Place is named in memory of Luke, who was 3.5 years old when he was murdered, strangled by his father, then doused with an accelerant and set on fire on his first access visit. Luke's Place was created to ensure there be no more Lukes and no more mothers who feel pressured into agreeing to custody and access arrangements. No, we're not. Luke's Place services are free of charge and include extensive one-on-one support, group support for women delivered by legal support workers, family court support workers, and trained volunteers, including lawyers providing summary legal advice. Driven provides multiple services at one location for women dealing with abuse and all forms of gender-based violence. All services are free, access to transportation and childcare, and also with language interpretation access. At the Hub, it's all about the clients. Why do we need such a facility, you may ask? I have some facts to share with you. Historically in Canada, a woman is murdered by her domestic partner once every 7 days. According to an update received in January of 2019, it was once every 2 to 3 days. It has returned to the average of every 7 days. In Canada, every 7 days, a woman is murdered by her domestic partner. I find this staggering. Pre-pandemic, Durham Regional Police were responding to over 20 domestic violence calls a day. And since the pandemic, domestic violence calls have gone up 8%. Some guys have asked me why I'm talking about a women's issue. I paraphrase Dr. Jackson Katz with my answer. It is because of the language we use around domestic violence that makes it a women's issue. Like when watching the football game and an advertisement for feminine hygiene products come on, that's time to grab a beer or another beverage. When we talk about domestic violence as a women's issue, the guys tune out. However, by and large, the perpetrators of domestic violence are men. This makes it a man's issue. We need more men in the boardrooms and the locker rooms saying this is unacceptable. The hub was purchased by CFSD in 2017, renovated, and we moved in the summer of 2018. Created with the addition of Rose of Durham, Woods Place, and River. CFSD doesn't profit from the other agencies being in the building. They only pay their share of the operating expenses, with the overall goal of reducing expenses and therefore being able to redirect assets to frontline services. Some of the economies that have been found with housing the 4 social service agencies together are physical things like 1 photocopier contract instead of 3 or 4. The Rose of Durham runs the share and care room with all agency access for those in need. The share and care room is gently used children's clothes, small appliances, diapers, formula, and food. The Rose of Durham has been able to hire an additional counselor with the savings that have been generated. The hub has also benefited our clients. An example is a woman who finally reaches out for help, comes to a walk-in day where she meets with a counselor. During the initial consultation, it becomes evident that CFSD is not the correct agency for her. She is told what she needs is actually Luke's place. She hangs her head and says, I've been told this before, but I can't find them. And with my special needs son, it's a struggle to even get here. Our counselor is able to tell them not only are they here in the same building, they're able to walk down the hall and make the introduction. The woman was so relieved she was able to come to one place and get all the assistance she required. The hub concept works. One more set of numbers for you. The PowerPoint slide shows the regional breakdown of clients in the percentage of use from the 5 areas of Durham region. This highlights to me that we have clients all throughout the region. CFSD does have a mortgage on our building, $1.3 million approximately. My goal is to retire that mortgage as quickly as possible so that we can hire additional counselors to increase the assistance to our friends and neighbors in need. Any assistance to that end or any specific program or project is always appreciated. I'll provide the PowerPoint presentation with the contact information to President Steve so that he can email it to anyone interested in volunteering their time or making a donation. I would now like to introduce you to a very dynamic woman, leader, and counselor, the Executive Director of Catholic Family Services of Durham, who will talk about the programming that we've done at the hub, Elizabeth Pierce. Let me stop that. So over to you, Elizabeth.
Thanks very much, Steve, and thanks to all of you for inviting us to be a part of your meeting this morning. Steve's done a great job of giving you an overview of our organization and what we do at a high level and the hub that we run, and just to demonstrate the investment that we have in the community and seeing all of our partners be successful and able to support the clients to the best of their ability. At Catholic Family Services of Durham, our existence to provide the therapy for people in the region is fueled by this belief that everybody deserves to be treated with equity and respect and dignity. And so our agency is able to provide people with psychotherapy at little to no cost. So you don't have to have an EAP plan. You don't have to have a lot of money. You can come and get the same level of support from us as someone else could get if they went to a private therapist. And our belief is that the more people are able to get the help, hope, and healing that they need, need, the better our entire community is going to be. So we provide individual, couple, family therapy to all people in Durham region for a wide variety of presenting problems. Could be grief and loss, mild to moderate anxiety and depression, relationship issues, couple therapy, family therapy, and then over half of the people we support are adult and child victims of domestic violence and various forms of trauma. So our organization tends to be the place that a lot of the community agencies, including the shelters and victim services, that refer their clients to us because of our specialization in trauma. And so we can talk about this sort of at a high level, but you could read our website for those kinds of pieces of information. So I thought instead I'd just tell you some stories of people who have come to us, so you get a sense of what it is we actually do in that beautiful building that we purchased. So I thought I'd start by telling you about a man named John, who was in his 50s when he came to us for therapy. And he had had a string of relationships that were unsuccessful and was really feeling quite depressed at this last relationship having ended, and looking back on his life thinking, this seems to continue to happen for me. And through our therapeutic intervention, John was able to understand what was going on for him, why this continued to happen. And when he finished his counseling with us, he told us that the help that he had received had taken 30 years of stress and worry off of his life. And so that's sort of one example of something that can happen when you come to us for help. I can think about a woman named, I'll call her Susan. All of these names are pseudonyms so that we're not giving away identifying information. She had come to us for therapy because of the abuse that she suffered in her relationship with her partner. She was a woman who had been sent to the emergency room and to other places for medical treatment because of her abuse. And she'd attended our groups and had learned in our groups that at the hospital, there's actually a special nurse who is funded specifically to address victims of violence. And so in a particular case of abuse, when she had to go to the emergency room for help, she was being walked down the hall of the hospital by her abuser, and he had his arm around her, and he looked like he was comforting her, but he was actually whispering in her ear, if you tell anybody that I did this to you, I will kill you. And so she was obviously quite terrified, but knew that she had to do something because she was quite sure she was going to die anyways if she didn't get out. And so in the emergency room, happened to ask for the special nurse and received the treatment from the special nurse as part of the ER response. That enabled them to get her to safety, and her partner was unable to harm her. And she learned about that in our group programming. If she hadn't have been in our group programming, she wouldn't have known that existed, and she wouldn't have known that she needed to ask for that help. So the treatment that she received helped her heal both physically and emotionally. I think about a little boy I'm going to call Joe. He was 10 years old, and he was in a home where his dad was abusive to his mom. And he would lay awake at night and listen to his dad hurting her, waiting until he knew it was the time he had to call 911. And so he would call 911 repeatedly for the sake of his mom. And in one instance, it was bad enough that the dad was removed from the home and prevented from returning to the home. And so finally, this family was able to get some help. And little Joe attended our therapy sessions, group therapy and individual therapy, where he learned that it wasn't his fault that this was happening in his home. He learned that it wasn't his job to keep his mom safe, that he was supposed to just be able to be a 10-year-old boy, that it was the adult's responsibility to keep him safe. And because of that, he was able to shed some of that adult responsibility and embrace being a 10-year-old boy, heal from the abuse that he had witnessed and heard, and make some decisions for himself about what he was going to be like when he grew up, what kinds of things were going to be okay and not okay in his relationships, so that he wasn't a child who was going to grow up to perpetrate the same kinds of things that he had experienced in his own home. I think about a little girl named Kate, who was 12 when she came to see us for counseling. Her sibling had died in a fire, and she felt it was her fault because she didn't go on the access visit that she was supposed to go on with her sibling at the time when the fire occurred. And so when Kate came to us for counseling, a large portion of the work that we had to do together was to figure out whose responsibility was it to keep her sibling safe. Her parents, both parents, happened to be addicts, and so she at an early age had felt very responsible for her younger sibling because there was no sober parent to be caring for this sibling. And so part of the work with Kate was helping her to understand the impact of addiction and that codependency that can develop so that she could pull herself out of those snares and not be caught in this mentality that she was responsible and she was the one who should have kept her sibling safe. And so when Kate finished counseling with us, she had a clear understanding of that. And interestingly, Kate did return to our agency as an adult years later to report that she had successfully graduated from nursing school and was going on to live a very healthy and independent life, and credited our organization with being the reason why she was able to be successful in her life, because she had healed from the things that had happened to her when she was a child. Those are just some examples of the types of things that we deal with on a daily basis. And I could tell you literally thousands of stories like those stories, some of which are actually much more horrific than what I just shared with you. And so we do this work every day and support people like the people I've shared with you every day. And our counselors do this with a great deal of expertise and compassion and professionalism. So you can imagine when COVID hit, things drastically changed for us because we do all of our work normally in person. So to quickly figure out how are we going to continue to do this vital work in our community. And thankfully, there were some grants that were put out by the federal government. We were able to get laptops and cell phones and purchase a virtual platform and transition to providing all of this service virtually, which is brand new for all of us. We've never done this before. And so instead of coming to our office to provide, to receive the therapy, clients are able to either by phone or through video platform like this, similar to this, receive the therapy that we provide through our organization. But as you can imagine, that was quite a challenge for victims of domestic violence with their partner in the next room. It wouldn't be uncommon for us to have a woman hiding in her closet on the phone with her therapist saying, I gotta go, I can hear him coming, I can't stay on the phone anymore. Or children saying, I can't talk because my mom's in the next room and she might hear me and I don't want her to, be upset with me again. So we've really had to figure out some of those challenges and how can we best support people in response to this. I was sharing with Joe when I had my pre-Rotary presentation interview to make sure that I did this the right way. I was sharing with Joe that we had a real interesting experience in watching a decrease in our clients at first and figuring out what was that about, and came to realize that a lot of the victims of violence were unable to actually reach out for support at the beginning because of the fact that their abuser was in the home with them. But then once the pandemic kind of went on and they lifted some of the restrictions and the lockdown situation that we were in the spring, we noticed a drastic increase. And now we're at a point where we actually have a 12-month wait for the services that we provide because there is that large of a demand. Once people were able to feel a bit freer and more able to get out and maybe go for a walk while they made a call or go in their car while they made a call, then we began to see the demand rise again. And so we've been able to reinstitute our group therapy programs, and we do those via the virtual platform as well. And we've had, interestingly, zero dropout. Typically when we run a group, we'll say we'll take 15 people and we'll have about 8 or 9 by the end. That's just the way group therapy is. But for some reason with this virtual way of doing groups, we don't have any dropout anymore. So we're able to sort of try to service people as best we can through the group format so we can try to get some people off of our wait list. So what are we doing kind of going forward? We're going to continue to serve people this way until things are safe again. And then as things open up, we'll begin to transition back into face-to-face client therapy again. We've got an IPAC consultant who's come in and done a thorough assessment of our organization, and we've put in place a bunch of policies and procedures and parameters so that we can provide service to people face-to-face in a safe way, protecting both our clients and our therapists. So that is a brief overview of who we are and what we do. And so rather than you just listen to me talk, I thought perhaps I would open up a bit of space for questions.
Elizabeth, thank you for that. Boy, I wish your services weren't needed. I don't understand how they are, but I'm thankful they're there. Wayne, I saw your hand up. You go first. You're muted, Wayne.
Muted, Wayne.
Yes. Where do you get your funding, Elizabeth?
We get our funding from a few sources. Our primary funder is the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services. So around 54% of our funding comes from them, and they fund all of our violence programming, all of the trauma and domestic violence work that we do. And then we get about 32% or so of our funding from Catholic Charities through the Share Life campaign. And it is that funding that enables us to do the rest of the work that we do. We get about $20,000 from the United Way of Durham region. And then the rest of our funding comes from donations and client fees for those people who pay. We have an annual gala that we run every year that we do to try to raise some funds to supplement our counseling. That's our Heart to Heart Gala, which happens on the last Saturday of February. It's going to be happening virtually this year, and that usually raises between $27,000 to $35,000, and that assists us in our therapy as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joe.
Yeah. Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you
Hi there.
again for talking to us.
No problem.
You know, for a lot of these, we can make the assumption that a lot of the abusers are men.
Mhm.
What is available? I mean, if somebody leaves an abusive relationship, often they end up going back, or they don't even leave. They just continue in the relationship while it's happening.
Mhm.
There's therapy to help women get on with their lives and children, but often, you know, they'll go back. The families will be reunited, and I guess one of the goals is that, you know, families eventually be reunited. What is available for the abusers in terms of making change, and how willing are those abusers to take that help?
So we do receive the provincial funding for the victims. Durham Family Services receives the Ministry of the Attorney General funding for the perpetrators through their partner assault response program. That being said, we do actually have provide therapy for the men as well. So we have a program called Safer Families, which is where we go with the Children's Aid Society into a home with a family where the police have been called because of a domestic incident, and provide a therapeutic response to this crisis that's happened in the family. And everyone in the family is offered therapy, so that any perpetrator who is interested in changing, is interested in healing, is interested in doing their part in bringing restoration to their family, is offered that opportunity through our organization. You asked how willing they are. So we do see only, unfortunately, a small percentage of the perpetrators interested in participating in this program. And of the ones that say I'm interested, only a few of those follow through with the actual therapy. Unfortunately, what we see is a perceived way of getting the Children's Aid off their back, or a perceived way of keeping their partner in the home with them. And oftentimes we don't see the follow through. And quite honestly, I think it's because it's really hard work. You know, a lot like when you're an addict and you have to say, I'm an addict, before you can start to begin to heal. We all know you have to be able to acknowledge this is what's happening for me before you can change. Likewise, when you are choosing abuse as your way of having control and power over someone, because that's what abuse is, it's a power and control thing, you have to start by saying, I caused this is my fault. And unfortunately, that's really hard to do when you've been in a cycle of saying, this is your fault. This is because you didn't do what I said. This is because you were too loud. This is because you looked the wrong way. This is because you didn't have my clothes ready or my supper ready, those types of things. So it's hard work. It requires a great deal of picking to look inside and owning the yucky stuff that's going on inside of you. So we recognize it's not easy work. We do our best to make it as safe and as comfortable as possible, because we truly believe that if this could get kind of reined in and people could heal and make different choices, it's the best thing possible for everyone in the family. So we're there ready and willing to do that work with anyone who is willing to do the work.
Thank you. Any other questions for Elizabeth? Okay. Well, I don't see any. Elizabeth, listen, it's a necessary message. It's not exactly immediately uplifting, but it's so great to know that that your organization is there to help these families. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for your time this morning. It's much appreciated.
You're welcome. Thanks very much for inviting me to join. I hope you have a great rest of your meeting.
You're welcome to stay on the line, but we know you probably have a busy day, so you can also drop, and it won't hurt our feelings at all.
Okay, thanks. Okay, have a good day.
Have a lovely day.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. All right, on to Happy Bucks. Who's got a Happy Buck? John. Yeah, I knew you'd be first. Good.
Yeah, I got 20 Happy Bucks, 2 happy parts. The first part is I'm happy that you all had the confidence in me to nominate me for the position of district governor. And I'm happy that that same confidence was mirrored by the district governor team in accepting me as the nominee. So once again, thank you all very much.
Well, John, I speak for probably everyone. It made my day when I got the news from you. That's fantastic. You'll be a great DG.
Thank you. Is it your worship now, John, or your excellency?
That just call me that guy.
Good for you.
His Majesty. All right. Any other Happy Bucks? Pauline.
Okay, since John gave 20, I guess I'm only giving 1.
Yeah.
Well, you are Scottish.
No, my Happy Buck is again for Wilmot Creek. This week we've been able to, through the generosity of some of the people here, have a couple of donations for our, let's call it our health cupboard for the want of a better word. There's a hospital bed being donated and a transport chair. So Gord Wallace is going to be putting them into storage.
Excellent. That's fantastic news.
Yeah.
Beds are the thing we get most of the calls for, and we haven't had one, so that's great. Any other Happy Bucks?
I've got a couple of Happy Bucks. I would just want to say I'm very grateful for all the new members that have stepped forward to help with the grocery shopping program. It seems as they're joining the club, they're stepping up, and I really appreciate it. We've picked up 5 new clients and a couple returning ones that had gone on to do their own shopping when things eased up, but they're back. So we're getting busy again. So thank you to each and every one of you who's in the program. And thank you especially to all the new ones, especially Leanna. Welcome to the club, and I will call you probably later this afternoon or early evening.
You beat me to my Happy Buck.
Hey, what can I say? You can repeat it if you like.
I was going to say welcome to Leanna. Well, we haven't made it 100% official yet. Leanna is our newest Rotarian in waiting. She's even gone so far as to prepay her dues. So, Leanna, I think this is the first time we've had a chance to see you on a call. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to pay for my dues yet. But
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
We welcome early payment. That's good.
Okay. Yeah. This is also my first ever Zoom meeting, so that's why I was late. I'm sorry to interrupt, and I don't know. My son had to help me set it up, and yeah.
Well, you got yourself off mute like a champ, and that's everyone's
That's
big,
important. I heard that.
problem, right? So, that was
Anyway,
that.
hi. Thank you, Ellie. We'll talk soon.
Hi, Leanna.
Hi.
Any other happy bucks? Nope. All right. Well, moving on. What's next on our agenda here? We have a new, well, it's not really a new feature, a feature we've tried a few times up till now, but we're going to make it a regular thing for the remainder of the year. It's Know Your Rotarian. In the next few days, I'm going to be distributing a schedule. I've paired up 2 Rotarians to have a conversation with each other. And what we'd like you to do is to have that conversation, find out a couple of things that maybe we all wouldn't know through normal course of conversation, interesting stories from their lives, more than just regular biographical sort of stuff. He works at such and such a place. He has 3 kids. She is also a member of whatever. Try and dig just a little bit deeper. And if you can't make that date that I've assigned you, just let me know and we'll try and juggle it around a little bit. So our first guinea pigs in this renewed version of this are Amy and Fred. Over to you, Dog and Amy. Uh-oh, is Amy frozen?
Fred, you're muted.
Fred, you're on mute.
Fred's going first.
See, Leanna, you did really well getting yourself off mute. Fred's been on every call, right? Nope, still muted, Fred.
Bottom left of the screen, Fred.
He's never sounded so good.
I'm going to ask to unmute Fred and see if that helps.
Steve,
There you go. You're good now.
We need a universal sign when like going like you're muted, or we need to be able to do something like that. Don't you think?
Isn't saying you're muted good?
Right on. Anyway, it's my bad eye. Yeah, I had the privilege of having a nice chat with Amy. We intended probably to spend 10 or 15 minutes, and then an hour and 15 minutes later, we finally said goodbye. But it was very interesting because as we were chatting with each other, a number of parallels in our lives became obvious. You realize that both, well, maybe you don't, but you will now. Amy and I were introduced to each other by mutual friends. And sometime later, in this case, both of us 4 years later ended up marrying those blind dates we went on, which is kind of interesting. I've never had that happen before. Anyway, just a bit of background with Amy. She was born in Hanover and adopted 11 days later. Just kind of, I thought that was pretty deep right off the bat. Wow. Her parents, Barb and Winston Bogdan, her dad, he passed away really early in her life. She was only 13. The family lived in Walkerton, and the main family business was a Bogdan and Gross Furniture Manufacturing. So I thought that was very interesting for me anyway. She grew up into a fine woman, as you can see today, has an honors degree in sociology and religious studies. And then after that, she went on to take on funeral services at Humber College. And all of that's great. And both of us, again, another parallel came up. She came into Bowmanville to do a maternity leave at Elliott Funeral Home there. And it was just supposed to be for a few months. And ergo, that was 2004. And here she is today. I did the same thing happened to me at UOIT. I went to do a medical leave and for 6 weeks and ended up staying 5 years on the faculty of ed. So that was kind of interesting. I'm really proud to say that she's a one of the finest ladies I've ever met. I must say that. And I spotted her right away when she joined our Rotary Club. She's a mother, wife, sister, and funeral director, and now a Rotarian, and soon to become our president. I think that's just fantastic in and of itself. Married to this blind date, Len, whom I've never met yet. I plan to, and we've already met her daughter, Hannah, 16, and has a young son, Lucas, 13. And they're both in the Catholic school system at St. Stephen's. It's another parallel. My daughter went through that system. Now, down to Amy herself. Her favorite sport is swimming. And she was a competitive swimmer. She may still be. I don't know. We never got that deep into that one. But, and ironically, we gave swimming lessons and was a lifeguard at Sabo Beach in Southampton, where the family had a cottage. She did that job, I guess, during when she attended university. Now, here's the magical stuff that came out of our talk. This is what I'm a specialist in evaluating, profiling people, actually, to see their leadership skills and teaching ability. That was my primary job. And she's a good listener, cooperative collaborator, organized multitasker. She's just oozing with determination. She deals with people and challenges, touching them now and in their future. That enables her to be empathetic and eclectic as a thinker. And as such, she can handle a multitude of situations and circumstances without ever forgetting about the effect one has on another. Specifically, how will it be benefit to them? Is it fair to them? Are they building a relationship with them? And is it the truth?
You gotta stop your phone.
Look at that. There you go.
Familiar.
And that's Amy. That's Amy Barney. She's a princess, I'll tell you. Firm believer in learning from other experiences as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Amy Barney, our new president next year.
Well, thanks, Fred.
You're welcome.
I'm not sure how my internet's going to hold up. So we know that this lady needs to take a trip to Rogers when she gets a day off. So as Fred said, we had a great chat. All of a sudden, an hour was gone. Yeah, we know the particulars. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Debbie because it's true what our little parallel there. So Fred told me that when he was 17 or 18, he was no longer in school. I'm not sure if he dropped out or got kicked out, but there were some questionable choices made at that time in his life. So one day, the police came knocking to the door to have a chat with young Fred. On a side note, the police knew him because Fred's dad was a tailor and made all the uniforms for the police and fire in Oshawa. So they came to knock on the door to talk to young Fred, who may have had some involvement in some questionable activities. And at that time, Fred was given the option of going to reform school or performing community service. So I would like to think that at the young age of 17 or 18, that is when Fred started to give back to the community because he chose the community service. Now, my next question to Fred was someone who was not exactly a scholarly type. How did you become a teacher? So he ended up going back to school. He got his degree from what is now Wilfrid Laurier. His plan was to go to the oil fields in Alberta to work. On his way back from Waterloo, he stopped in at Teachers College with some friends in Toronto for a card game, of all things, and ended up staying. He questioned his choice of being a teacher every single year. He said usually by sometime in October, he was ready to quit every year. Another little tidbit he told me is that he actually carried a resignation letter in his pocket at all times so that he was ready to quit when he wanted. Obviously, he never did. What made him stay was realizing the impact that he was having on the kids. He told them about his life, his mistakes, and wanted to make sure that they stayed on the straight and narrow. He said he eventually forgot about it being a job and it was just all about the kids. And he also focused mainly on special needs kids. And we know it takes a special person to focus on those kids. What you might not know is Fred also had a side business, a construction company, which I didn't know. He was a busy guy, which is why he didn't join Rotary until he retired, because he didn't think that he had the time to do so. When he had his construction company as well, he was also very careful about who he hired, always trying to hire convicts and alcoholics. And congratulations to Fred, who this June will have 40 years sober in AA. So congratulations to that, Fred. Now, I mentioned Debbie earlier. I want to tell you, especially you gentlemen, you should all speak about your wife or your loved one the way Fred talks about Debbie. Even over the phone, the love that he has for her is palpable. I asked Fred how they met. And at that point, he was living in Toronto after a failed marriage and had a roommate. The roommate called him and said, I want to have my girlfriend over. Fred's like, sure, I'll cook. The friend said, the only way she'll come is if she can bring a friend. Fred's like, I have no interest at all, but can she play chess? Yes, she can play chess. Sure, she's more than welcome. He said that when he saw Debbie, he didn't know her name. He'd never heard her voice, but he knew that she was the one for him. I believe the word he used was smitten. He took her out the following week to see The Godfather in the theater. They were married June 28, 1975, and the rest, they say, is history. Now, one last little story is I asked Fred, because a lot of members might not know what Fred's name was. Everybody calls him Dog, Big Dog. So where did that name come from? When his daughter Kira was living in Sault Ste. Marie, they stopped at one of those little side stores, the touristy stuff. And Kira found a shirt that said Dad should have. On the front, he couldn't remember what it said. Something like, if you can't run with the dog, stay on the porch. But on the back of the shirt, it said Big Dog. And then a couple of years later, they were getting ready for, I think, the first Rib Fest, he thought. And he had this shirt on. And it was either Chuck Catron or Ted Mann that was like, hey, Big Dog. And the name stuck. So we know that he's also been very involved in the Matawa. And once when he was up there, because everybody called him Big Dog, they actually thought he was Aboriginal. So the last little date is that after our interesting conversation, I wanted to come up with something that I didn't know that you guys might know about Fred. And while he was in school and working in his early days, he worked constantly and was often a bouncer at hotels in Toronto. I'm not sure if you can picture Fred as a bouncer, but he was. So, and this is just scratching the surface of Fred. We had a great chat. I can't wait to do it in person. And one thing I never told you, Fred, is I had a very, very special person in my life, my uncle, who helped raise us after my father died. And you are so much like him that it was a real pleasure to get to know someone that was so much a part of my life. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you both. That's fantastic. Really, really well done.
Sounds like your new name should be Mean Dog. Freddie.
I prefer to think of Fred as like a Patrick Swayze from Roadhouse type bouncer, right? It's not about the size, it's about the skill and the expertise.
Exactly right. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. That's exactly right.
Perfect. Over to Mike for our community update.
Sure. Okay. So Ellie touched on what I'm going to talk about today is our shopping program. And Ellie was nice enough to send me some statistics. So these numbers are based from last Wednesday, not necessarily any add-ons like Leanna or whatever. So we had 21 shoppers at that point, and we had delivered 221 grocery orders. throughout the community. Our top shoppers are Phil, 33 shops, Steve K, 30 shops, Steve Code, 28 shops, and Main Dog, 18 shops. Special mention.
Excuse me, Mike. I think that's Fred DeVries.
Oh, Fred DeVries. I'm sorry. Okay. Yes.
Credit
Yes.
for that. I haven't got a, well, I have a license, but I don't use it much.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Fred DeVries. You're right. And then special mention to Ellie, Chrissy, and myself. Some interesting requests we've gotten. Apparently, Coder is always willing to take on the weird requests. But Ellie's had all kinds of requests, like somebody called and wanted us to clean their house. And Ellie said, no way, never in a million years. Another one was a lady asked for us to go to Shoppers to purchase Christmas presents. Now, that was because, sorry.
We got you.
That wasn't Pam, was it? My presents were suspiciously, I think, bought with optimum points. Anyway, how about this? Steve K and Ellie went to an apartment and hung pictures, shelves, and other items for a lady. Ellie drilled the holes and Steve screwed in the screws. Good teamwork there. One client's grocery order was so large that Steve Coda had to chop it up into 3, and 3 of us had to deliver it. One lady requires that we put her groceries on the patio. She doesn't want us in the building, let alone in her apartment. I don't know what she's heard about Rotarians, but that's a bit scary. Steve Code was asked if he could fish a ring out of a kitchen drain, and like a good Rotarian, he went back with tools, tore apart the plumbing, and was successful in recovering the lady's ring for her. Service above self. Ellie's she's quite acute too. She sent Keith Hill to buy hair dye, not once but twice. Good call there, Ellie. Keith would know about hair. That's like sending me to buy somebody's booze. Oh, this is one of my favorites. One lady asked Ellie not to send a shopper back because he reminded her of her ex-husband. She then proceeded to tell, I can't say, Ellie does, no names here. And she then proceeded to tell Ellie what a nasty person her ex was. So hopefully that's not the reason why. Hopefully it was a physical likeness. We've been asked to, one lady wanted us to supply a free computer the government was giving away, and then wanted to know what else we could give her that was free besides groceries, because she didn't want groceries. She just wanted free shit. Crazy. Okay, in the Looney Tunes department, Ellie was told by one lady that she was not a God-fearing person because she wouldn't pray with her on the phone after Ellie told her we were unable to come and get her cat and take it to the vet so the vet could remove the human lice that people in the building had given it. Wow. Ellie spent 20 minutes listening to her before she could get a word in edgewise. The loon then proceeded to tell Ellie that she was not a giving person for leaving her cat in misery, when in fact, all she had to do was walk across the street. The vet's was across the street from her. What else have we got here? Ellie had to cut off one person because she would only order groceries in order to get us to do all the extras for her. Go to the liquor store, the drugstore, and then just groceries was also always just sort of an afterthought for her. Other things that were ordered: toner cartridges, been asked to check out ducts, fix cable, so on and so forth. So there's just a few of the things over the last 10 months that we've put up, that Ellie's had to put up with. For the most part, all of our clients are very appreciative of the service we're providing. And Ellie very often has to sit and listen to these ladies. There are no men, by the way, it's all ladies. Life stories, and sometimes it's really difficult for her to get them off the phone. but she listens because many of these ladies have very limited or no outside contact, and they appreciate having a caring person to talk to. And I think in a lot of ways, that's maybe the greatest service we're providing. Thanks to Ellie. She's doing a fantastic job there. Thanks for caring, Ellie.
Great job, Mike. All things we didn't know about something that we deliver. It's really fits well within what this community update is supposed to be. That's fantastic.
By the time I send the grocery orders to you guys, you have you just got a little bit from Mike what I listen to and sort out and arrange long before it ever gets to my shoppers. It's like, sometimes it's fun. Sometimes I want to kill somebody. But we do it.
I'm one of the lucky ones that gets the same person every week. So right from April or whenever we started this all the way through, I've been doing Sunny. And I'm pretty sure everyone at Freshco thinks that I'm the banana man, because her average banana order each week is 40 bananas. So she got loads of potassium. So, but she's one of those people that that just she needs kind of interaction. So it's been nice to be able to help her out. And thanks, Mike.
One item I forgot to tell Mike about, one of our clients is totally in love with Dawn Gleed. She requests Dawn. I stopped sending Dawn because she wanted to hit on him and wanted to know if he was happily married, or could she, come between him and his wife. It's like, okay, time out, lady. Never told Dawn.
Listen, I'm attracted to Dawn Gleed, so I can totally understand that. So great.
It's not a place to meet chicks, though.
It's not. It's not. It really isn't. Just so you know, that was a great community update, Mike. For anyone that gets assigned it moving forward, there aren't a lot of rules to it. Just look at what's going around in the community. What have you read? What have you seen happening either within Clarington or across the world that you think that the club would benefit knowing something more about? It might just be an article that you've seen. Bring that forward to us and tell us. Spend 5 minutes telling us about that. Just something that you think we could all learn from. Mike, we all learned something about something we thought we knew everything about already. So that was a fantastic job. Thanks. Announcements. I don't have too many announcements, although I think he's dropped off now. Our friend Dave Sullivan, Sully, is under the knife again tomorrow morning, having his second of 2 knee operations, because he can only have 2 knee replacements, I guess. So keep Sully in your thoughts tomorrow morning, and wish him a speedy recovery. All right. I don't think I have anything else. Anyone else have an announcement they'd like to pass on?
Joanna.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm going to be in touch with the ladies that belong to our Bowmanville Rotary group. On March 9th, we are going to be hosting our Bowmanville Rotary group, an all-female crew of leading the morning meeting. So I've actually presented this over to Steve and to the administration committee, and they agreed. And it's actually in honor of International Women's Day, which is actually the day prior. So just to let the ladies know, I'll be in touch. I'll be sending out an email just after this meeting, and we can go forward from there. But I would love to have all your participation if you're interested.
And that includes an all-female Know Your Rotarian.
It does. Yep.
Wayne, you have a question for Leanna, or not for Leanna, sorry, for Johanna. Muted, Wayne.
Wayne, you're muted.
You're muted, Wayne.
We can't hear you, Wayne. Oh, he's still talking.
Sorry, folks, about that. I was just wondering, because it's women focused, I have a few females that I thought I would like to invite to hook up in on the meeting. Would that be okay?
Fine by me.
Always,
yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Always.
Okay, yeah, well, I figured, but I thought rather than, just go ahead and do it, I'll just run it by everyone. Yeah, good, thanks.
All right, Joe.
Yeah, just to let you know, we do have a speaker that day, and she's the executive director of the group called Girls Inc. of Durham, and they run girls programs. They continue to run them through the pandemic. Based in Ajax, but they have girls involved all across Durham, and they help girls, as they say, just go by memory, overcome obstacles, overcome barriers to success, to become strong and bold women. And she's a great talker, and she'll be perfect for that show.
Thanks for that, Joe. A quick reminder, next week is an evening meeting. It's an evening meeting on a Thursday. So next Tuesday, no meeting. Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, we're going to have an evening meeting. Hopefully we draw a few additional Rotarians out that can't make the morning meetings. With that, over to Ted for our quote of the week. You're muted, Fred, or Ted. You're muted.
Sorry. There, I'll wake up. Complaining about a problem without posing a solution is called whining. A quote by Teddy Roosevelt.
I really like that one. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. All right. Well, if there's nothing else for the good of Rotary, we will wish you all the best and have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Bye all.
Bye.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye.